mess with time, it tends to mess back. You'll see.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my brand new Marvel video for the huge villain they just announced. It's a big Avengers level villain with connections to Fantastic Four, the X-Men characters, all the stuff that's happening in Marvel Phase 4 and Marvel Phase 5. You mess with time, it tends to mess back. That Iron Man quote from Avengers Endgame is never more important than it is right now. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We'll do a new Amazon giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and let me know what you're most hyped up about for Marvel Phase 4. So just starting with the big stuff first, number 5, Deadline is reporting that Jonathan Majors from Lovecraft Country on HBO is the new Kang the Conqueror of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and his first major appearance in the MCU is going to be as the main villain of Ant-Man 3. Then he'll go on to other Avengers crossover movies, Fantastic Four movies, since obviously Ant-Man 3 is probably the last Ant-Man solo movie. This is a huge deal for a bunch of reasons, and Kang the Conqueror is a longtime Avengers villain with a very deep connection to the Fantastic Four, the main Avengers team, like Avengers 5, Avengers 6, future team-up movies, the Young Avengers that they're setting up in all the other Marvel Phase 4 series, and then the Avengers Endgame Loki spin-off series that Marvel is doing on Disney Plus next year. So this is connected to several other things in addition to the new Fantastic Four stuff in the MCU and the new X-Men stuff. I know everyone wants to know what's going on with that new Fantastic Four movie that Marvel is doing. This is a big part of that. But if you're not familiar with the actor, Jonathan Majors, like I said, his big thing right now is Lovecraft Country on HBO, which is an adaptation of the H.P. Lovecraft mythology. Think eldritch horrors from the multiverse. So obviously it's apropos of the quantum realm, the multiverse, time travel, everything that they're doing in Marvel Phase 4 and Marvel Phase 5. The actor also has a connection to Chadwick Boseman in Black Panther. He actually just co-starred with Chadwick Boseman in his last on-screen appearance in the movie Defy Bloods earlier this year. That's not a Marvel movie, it's just a movie that Chadwick Boseman made last year before his health took a turn for the worse and he passed away. I've already done a couple of Chadwick Boseman Black Panther tribute videos, May He Rest in Power, and Black Panther 2 movie videos about the future of that franchise in the MCU, so I will link those at the end of this and in the description below. But number 4, there are several reasons why Marvel is using Kang the Conqueror as the main villain of Ant-Man 3. The first one obviously being he's a huge character from the comics, super powerful and super deep cut. They really want to get you to go see Ant-Man 3, so they're going to try and put as much big stuff in there as possible. This time around, they won't have an Avengers movie lead-in teaser like they did with Avengers Infinity War, like, come see how this sets up Avengers Endgame, you have to see this to know what happens next. So they have to come up with some other big hook. But they do have a couple other big franchises like Fantastic Four debuting before Avengers 5, so we'll get to that stuff in a second. The quantum realm is something that they barely started exploring in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame, and the setup is that not only can they use it to travel through time and space in different dimensions of the multiverse, per Janet Van Dyne, there are also worlds upon worlds, whole civilizations, quote-unquote, living down there, and she reveals that they can use quantum energy to evolve humanity into something more, like she's very vague about it, but she implies mutations, so everyone post your X-Men memes. So there's just a whole lot going on with that as a story device in Marvel Phase 4 and Marvel Phase 5 for them to use between all the other big new Marvel movies, especially the Fantastic Four, the Negative Zone, alternate universes, if we're starting to talk about bringing in legacy Fox X-Men characters for big crossovers down the road like Secret Wars, big multiverse movie crossovers. Number 3, the big Fantastic Four movie teaser and Easter egg in all this is that Kang the Conqueror's real name is Nathaniel Richards. He's a descendant of Reed Richards from the distant future, thousands of years in the future, but he's still related to Reed Richards. The way he met Reed Richards for the first time was kind of a roundabout way, but he debuted for the first time in a Fantastic Four comic book, so you can kind of see how they're laying the foundation for the MCU Fantastic Four reboot movie. Kevin Feige's last big announcement about that Fantastic Four movie was that they had big plans for them in the MCU and they wanted to reboot the franchise, making it super important and a core piece of the future of the Marvel movies. And along the way, through the Marvel Phase 4 movies, they just start laying seeds and Easter eggs for all the bigger stuff down the road, the same way that they did with the Infinity Gauntlet and Thanos during the early Marvel Phase 1 and Phase 2 movies. They started doing this during Avengers Endgame in a big way. The main reason why they used the quantum realm and time travel as the solution for beating Thanos in Endgame was to establish the concepts of time travel in multiple realities. Them jumping around through time, fighting technically the same villain in different time periods. Also setting up the multiverse in a big way through multiple timelines and multiple realities. Kang's big trick in the Avengers comics is that he fights the Avengers in multiple time periods simultaneously using different versions of himself from different parts of the timeline. For instance, like I said, his very first appearance was in a Fantastic Four comic. It was Fantastic Four number 19. He debuted as a character calling himself Rama Tut. He was a time travel villain posing as a pharaoh ruling over ancient Egypt. A year after that happened, he took the name Kang the Conqueror and appeared in Avengers number 8. That was his first big Avengers crossover. Then over the years, different versions of him from different parts of the timeline with different identities would cross over with the Fantastic Four and Avengers having big fights. He's called himself Nathaniel Richards because that was his birth name, Kang the Conqueror, the Scarlet Centurion, Immortus, and Iron Lad. So this is where we get to the Iron Man connection.
What happened? You mess with time, it tends to mess back. You'll see.
So for those of you wondering if they'd ever do Iron Lad in a Young Avengers Disney Plus series, number 2, the connection to Iron Man and Iron Lad is that Iron Lad is sort of the successor to Iron Man in a roundabout way in the Young Avengers comics. But really what's going on with the character is that he's actually a younger version of Kang the Conqueror just posing as Iron Lad. There was a report earlier this year that the other major thing that they were going to do in the Ant-Man 3 movie was setting up the Young Avengers of the MCU, bringing that team together. They already have Cassie Lang-Stacher who's coming back. They have the Kate Bishop Hawkeye who's showing up soon in the Disney Plus series. There's Wiccan and Speed who are Scarlet Witch and Vision's twins that are supposed to debut in the WandaVision series. And they have Miss Marvel whose Disney Plus series they're going to be filming next year. So they've already almost got a full roster, not including the other potential new members they might put on that team. Kang the Conqueror was a major Young Avengers time travel villain. Iron Lad was just posing as a team member during that story as part of Kang's larger time travel plot. They haven't really said whether or not the Young Avengers project would be another Disney Plus series or if they do it as a full-blown movie, but they'll talk more about that after all the other new team member characters debut in the MCU. Then number 1, there was also a rumor that Kang was supposed to show up during the Loki Disney Plus series next year. Now that they've officially cast him for Ant-Man 3, what they'll probably wind up doing is instead just tease him with some Easter eggs, helping set him up as a bigger threat in the multiverse and the timeline. The Loki series is a time travel, Rick and Morty style series with multiple realities. The person running the show is literally from the Rick and Morty team. And, get this, more Rick and Morty in the MCU. Cronenberg, the MCU, the person who wrote the Ant-Man 3 script, is also a writer from Rick and Morty. There's been other people from the Rick and Morty show that have worked on Marvel movies before, like Dan Harmon did also do some work for the Doctor Strange movie for a lot of their big multiverse stuff. So you can kind of see the connection there. And even though we're talking about time travel, and supposedly Rick and Morty isn't about time travel, they did that during Rick and Morty Season 4. So now the metaphor just works a little bit better. This is meant to be the Loki that escaped with the Tesseract during Avengers Endgame. He created a new timeline where he wasn't captured by Thor or taken back to Asgard before Thor the Dark World. During the events of that series, he'll be traveling through Earth's history messing with different major events, like the Avengers did during Endgame. The place that he's in during the Marvel Phase 4 trailer footage is in the Time Variance Authority's prison. That's why it reads TVA on his prison jumpsuit there, and he's spewing about burning the place to the ground. They're kind of like the Time Cops or the Time Lords of the Marvel Universe. They mostly show up in the Avengers and the Fantastic Four comics to capture people who mess with the timeline. So Kang the Conqueror, big Fantastic Four villain, being Marvel's biggest time travel villain, would probably be number 1 on their most wanted list, next to Loki with the Tesseract and the Space Stone. But I'll do more videos for the Loki series when they release more footage. Those episodes will release after the Falcon and Winter Soldier episodes and the WandaVision episodes are done. The Black Widow movie is still supposed to come out in November this year. We'll get the first Marvel Eternals trailer when that happens too. So of course I'll do videos for everything. As long as you have alerts enabled for my channel, you should see all those videos when I post them. But everyone, click here for my new Black Panther 2 Chadwick Boseman video, and click here for The Boys Season 2 Episode 4 video with a whole bunch of Marvel Easter eggs. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.